Hello, welcome to the Retro Game Club podcast, Season 5, Episode 2, which is also Episode 138. I am Rob, and with me is Hugh 2000, a little bit more futuristic.
Well, I wouldn't complain about being 23 years younger.
You have a nice CRT display. What else was very 2000 and futuristic? Mini discs.
I still had dial-up in 2000. I only had high-speed internet at my office.
High speed meaning like a T1, T3.
Yeah, like we had some kind of like a T1 line going into the building. So if you needed to like download anything big, you'd have to go into the office to do it.
Yeah. What's been going on? We recorded some episodes that will be released in the future, so it's like we just recorded, but
well, I scanned and uploaded like my 1 millionth catalog. This is from October 1993, Electronics Boutique, October 1993 catalog. It was like, I'm out of catalogs I personally own, but I have a search on eBay for these things. And it's just stupid. Like, eBay is so stupid. So like, the person listed this thing for $5 last year. Okay. And I bid $5. Because that's about much as I'm willing to pay for something that I'm literally going to post for free.
Yeah.
And then some people sniping bots came in at the last second and sold sold in quotes for like $40, something like that. In the article, I list the actual prices. And then like a couple days later, it got relisted because whoever won it didn't actually really want to pay that much for it. They just wanted to use their dumb little sniping bot to win. And they got listed again and again, got sniped for like even more money the next time. And then a few days later, it was relisted again. And then the third time it got relisted, I again bid $5 and there were 0 other bids. So you losers with your sniping bots, you're not very smart. You literally could have bid $5.01 on this thing and won it.
That is so strange. I mean, what did they have to win? I mean, other than a magazine.
They just like the feeling of winning, I think. Like, my thing is with eBay, I will just go and I'll set my max bid to slightly more than I'm actually willing to pay for the product. And then if I win, and it's like my max bid, I guess I'm a little grumpy that I'm overpaying, but I'll just go ahead and pay. And then if someone snipes it, it's like, okay, good. Well, you paid more than I wanted to pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And you'll probably see another one in the future.
Yeah. And I see all kinds of stuff. I mean, one day I could read my eBay search list if we needed a topic. I have like a dozen searches saved, and most of the items are totally ludicrous. But I do keep a lot of searches going for like Electronics Boutique catalogs and merch. Like I landed a nice Electronics Boutique button-down shirt recently for like $12, which I will wear to the office, even though it has another company name on it. So stuff like that, yeah. But anyhow, I scanned it. It's up there if anyone wants to look at it. I don't know. It's 1993. It's kind of a weird catalog because it's like the first catalog after Mortal Monday, but Mortal Kombat isn't listed in the catalog anywhere.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. There's a little bit of vaporware. There's like a Sega CD game in here that never got published. So some cool stuff.
Yeah, that is cool. I'll check it out. It should be a topic sometime, a magazine read sometime.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff from around that era. I don't know if I would pick the October one from 93. And then I was dorking around. I have this like setup I made that I call my like TurboGrafx Mini, but better. I posted like this tutorial on like how to get RetroPie to work with like multiple USB drives, and that was all fun and everything. The problem was I didn't like complete the loop on it because you have to do additional configuration to actually save, because by default, this is really like niche and stupid, but by default, like RetroArch will try and save states and save RAM in the same directory as the game. But if you're on Linux, right, the USB drives are usually owned by root, and your Pi is running under the Pi account. So it actually can't write things to the USB drive.
Oh.
So then you have to like go and configure stuff so it writes save games to the local SD card, which you have plenty of space on, right? I mean, I have a 32 gig SD card in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just not a big deal.
Oh, yeah, definitely check that out.
Yeah, so that's what I've been kind of messing around with. I don't know, what have you been up to?
Let's see. Well, Stadia is completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it has affected me at all. When I got it, I played one game on it. Well, 2 games on it. And it was fine, but I had, game consoles here. So there was just no need for me to stream. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Google did listen and didn't want to make all their nice controllers into e-waste. So they did update them to become Bluetooth controllers. And they are nice controllers. I didn't update mine yet. I don't know if I'm going to, just because I have 9 million controllers. And
Mm-hmm.
this would not be my go-to one, probably. It would be nice to see, latency differences between this and like a PS4 controller, though. And then on the Analog Pocket, I've been playing a lot of Devil's Crush. So Devil's Crush was a Game Club game. It is probably in my top 3 games ever. And you can beat it. It is a pinball game that you can beat by getting, 999 trillion or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. So I am about a third of the way through it. I've never beat it myself, even though it's one of my all-time favorites. It's just one of those games I just never thought about beating. So I'm slowly working through it. But
are you using save states?
I know, but I'm using saves in the game. So, the Analog Pocket has kind of a built-in turbo booster. So you don't have to save passwords.
Yeah, that's right. It has a built-in turbo booster. Okay, I know that. I know it has like save states too.
Yeah, I didn't even bother with that yet. But I am also save spamming as well. So if I die in a stupid spot, like I'm saving so often that I'll just quit the game and load the save. So I don't see much difference than that in save states.
Yeah.
But we don't have many news items, but yeah, I should follow up on that housekeeping we had that, yeah, after this episode, I will be traveling. So we recorded 2 parts of a 3-part series that'll be released while I'm traveling. There might be an extra week. I don't know if it would be the first week of March that we might miss a week of recording, a week of releasing episodes. But don't let that fool anyone. We'll be back with new episodes very shortly. So keep emailing and all that stuff. We are still here. But the format of the show might change a little bit, right?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Might be. I don't know. I've what was I going to say? I think we're going to be a little bit less news heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because we're both burned out on that. And maybe more. I don't know how to put it. Yeah. How would you describe the minor changes we're talking about?
I would say since I enjoy the emulation part of the news, we'd probably just focus more on ROMs, emulation, stupid stuff like that, kind of the Hackaday type stuff. Yeah. And not just load up on news simply because there is retro news to report. And then if there's anything else we may want to add to the news, we may just use it, in our intro topics and stuff like that. And then hopefully have a few more topics in the episodes. But again, that's a lot of work. So it really just depends how busy at work we are.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would describe it as I don't want to do any more stories that are like, hey, look, this guy ported Super Mario Brothers to the Amstrad. Oh, and now it's gone. Like those kind of stories, I'm just sort of like, we can never talk about those again, and I'm fine. There's one this week, actually. I saw someone did a Shadowgate port to Commodore 64. And I'm like, oh, that looks really neat. It's going to get taken down, though. Like,
yeah.
Why? I would just create a Shadowgate clone. Right? You can clone the basic mechanics of a game, because that's gone to court a few times. Like, that's totally legal to do. but not like the literal graphics and story and text of the game. That will get you in trouble. And I don't know how litigious, that's the word I'm looking for, the IP holders of Shadowgate are right now, but I suspect they have lawyers.
Yeah, I could see Shadowgate being a franchise that comes back, maybe even as a movie.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the thing is, they do re-releases of they did like a thing called Shadowgate Classic a few years ago, which is just Shadowgate, but now like in Unreal Engine or something, or whatever the popular Unity, I guess, maybe not Unreal.
Yeah,
Unreal Engine would not make a lot of sense for Shadowgate.
But the first news item this week is yours.
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff I still like talking about. There is a English translation that just came out for a very niche TurboGrafx, actually PC Engine CD game called Private Eye Dol. That's EYEDOL. And this is an old detective game. It's kind of a cool game. I've seen a little bit of it, but because it's Japanese, I haven't really been able to play it. But they did a translation. They translated all the text. There's a lot of spoken dialogue, so they didn't re-record the spoken dialogue, but they added subtitles.
Cool.
Which actually sounds like more work. Like the East 4 translation team, they redubbed they did a dub of the audio.
A great job.
Great job too. Yeah. That's still to this day my favorite fan translation ever.
Yep, same.
This looks really good though. I was reading it though, and I really haven't had a chance to try it yet. I wanted to try it before we recorded, but I just had too much going on this week because like the patching instructions to apply the patch are kind of complicated. I mean, this is like you have to block an hour or two out of your day to work through it. And some of it depends like where, like, do you actually own the game? Did you rip it yourself? How did you rip it? Did you rip it in one bin file, one key? Like there's a couple different ways you can rip the games, or did you rip multiple bins? Did you do that, blah, blah, blah. So depending how you rip the game, or wherever it is you acquired a copy of this game, however it was ripped.
Yeah.
How it was ripped changes how you apply the patch. And they like, rather than just saying like, we only support this one specific way of patching it, and if you ripped it some other way, you're just hosed. They like have 3 sets of instructions depending how your game is formatted.
Wow.
Which is really cool. Like, I mean, this is exactly like a project done perfectly, I think. And it looks like this is a game I've really wanted to try for a while. Like, it just looks like a cool mystery game. The graphics, it's very, very nice, like RPG-like graphics. It's just a neat game.
But it doesn't look like a Sherlock Holmes type game, right? It's more RPG.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it looks more like you're playing an RPG with some cutscenes. It's not like playing a Sherlock Holmes game, which I guess you could now make your own Sherlock Holmes games.
What do you mean?
That I thought at the start of 2023, Sherlock Holmes is now like fully 100%.
Oh, that's right. Domain. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Because there were like some lawsuits when they made the one with the actress from Stranger Things. She was like Sherlock Holmes' sister.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
That got sued because even though Sherlock Holmes was partially in public domain, like, well, he expressed empathy towards another person, and that doesn't appear until the later books. So you can't have Sherlock Holmes that has empathy. There's just some horrible thing. Again, people who didn't write the book that want to keep cashing out on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But at this point, Sherlock Holmes is now 100% in public domain, all of it. So he can like own a dog and whatever other things that he did in the later books.
Nice, cool.
So it is. I'm not a big. I like the Sherlock Holmes FMV games. I don't think I would ever want to try making something like that, though.
No, never.
It is a lot of work. So, anyways, great fan translation. I think this is such a great project.
Yeah. I hope you play it soon so I could hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to record for like a month, it's winter. That's probably the best time to try it.
Totally. Yeah, I hope you do.
Yeah. Well, that's part of why I was tinkering again with my TurboGrafx mini setup here, because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get that patch and I want to play it. And I want to be able to save. And I hadn't been playing anything that required saving on it so far. I've been playing mostly like action games on it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to the next thing.
Cool. Yeah. Well, Mega Man 5 on Game Boy got what looks like a Game Boy Color patch. I think that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about the, I know about Mega Man 1 through 6 and maybe like 9 and 11.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about the ones on Game Boy. But I guess this one they picked because it has a unique story and some really unique bosses. So go check it out. I know nothing about it.
Yeah, the Game Boy ports for Mega Man are generally pretty well done. They're as good as you can get on the Game Boy.
And they're very different from the I almost said desktop, the console ports, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so when I got my Analog Pocket, the first thing I played through was Bonk's Adventure on Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's definitely, it's a Bonk game, but it's not the same level layouts.
Yeah, it's just similar, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, Nintendo was smarter. Like, they didn't call Super Mario Brothers on Game Boy Super Mario Brothers. They called Super Mario Land. So you knew it wasn't the exact same game, but it played the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Bonk's Adventure did not do that. They have Bonk's Adventure and Bonk's Revenge. I actually started Bonk's Revenge on the Analog recently. They're both fun, and like they have like the same bosses and the same enemies, but they're not the same game at all.
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Bonk's Revenge as well, but the TurboGrafx version.
Yeah.
And I'm not as good as that game as I am as Bonk's Adventure, that's for sure.
Yeah, like that game has one really, really tough boss, as I recall.
Yes, and the boss rush sucks.
Yeah, you have to bank a lot of extra lives to get through that.
Yeah. This next news item, like it or not, I put it up here for you.
Okay.
Java's been ported to the Nintendo 64. So I guess this is the PS2 port ported to Nintendo 64.
Yeah. You got to be careful which code base you're using for this, but yeah.
Yeah, they'll come after you, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you're using it, well, there's a long licensing history with Java, but if you're using, the older versions that are equivalent to like a GPL kind of license, then there's really no one's going to come after you for that, which I assume is what they're doing here, because they must. Java came out right around the same time as the Nintendo 64. I don't recall if there was ever a next step version of Java. Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was Java for anything prior. I think 32-bit is the lowest OS. Like you can't run Java on a 16-bit computer, I don't think. I don't think you could even port it in like reasonably. It would be very, very difficult to port. I'll just say that, because like number types by default are 32-bit. So it would be a lot of work to like re-architect that back to a 16-bit system. But it doesn't matter, because we're talking about the Nintendo 64. And it was probably tricky to port, but it certainly seems like a thing that could feasibly run Java.
Yeah, it's neat nonetheless, for sure.
No, I'm going to go back 1 second. There were a lot of like old Java ME games. Remember like early feature phones that had like Java Mobile Edition?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could probably run all of those on Nintendo 64.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. None of those were really good.
Yeah.
So maybe not the best.
No, but some of them are probably. I had like a knockoff version of Quicks or something that was pretty good. Oh, that's intriguing. Okay, anyhow, what is this game? There's a new Airball for NES. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I guess it was made in 1987, never released, and I also guess there was a Game Boy Advance port that I don't think was released originally. But
yeah.
And now you could buy carts for it for $29.99.
All right.
And
it's an official release.
It looks okay, I guess. It doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it looks like if you tried to make Marble Madness into an RPG.
Yes, which is not horrible.
No, I don't. I have nothing against the product. I think it's good. I'm glad this is an official release and someone's making some money off it. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just for me. I just don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I look at a lot of old scans and old catalogs and old magazines. I don't remember anyone ever talking about this game even.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this one kind of took me by surprise. And then the next story, it's not really a story. It's an interview, and it's my favorite article of the week. And it's just a very long interview with the creator of FreeDOS, which is an amazing product.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so it's not, I mean, I realize that if you want to run DOS games, you're probably going to run DOSBox at this point. Quite a while ago, I created a virtual machine running FreeDOS just to see how it was for gaming. It kind of mixed results. Now, I didn't do a lot of tinkering. Like, I didn't really try very hard to get most of the games running. Some games ran perfectly right away. Others, like, blue screened. Not blue screen because it's FreeDOS, so it doesn't have the blue screen. But some games just crashed. I also tried creating, this is really dorky, I'm sorry. I tried creating a Sega Genesis, like installing a Sega Genesis dev kit on FreeDOS, and that crashed. I mean, that's just full on, like, OS dead. And DOSBox also crashed trying to do that too. So, well, they're probably, it's probably trying to use some hardware features that maybe neither of these guys have thought about supporting, because who would ever need them, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I understand the dev kit thing maybe, but the games, I've never had a game. I mean, I've mostly only played Sierra and, just a few other games, maybe like Castles in FreeDOS. But I think I tried to run a bulletin board in FreeDOS as well, just to see if it would work.
Okay.
But I didn't have, a modem hooked up to it, but I remember it launching. So I've never crashed it, but FreeDOS does just have so many quality of life features that it's, you have zero reason to run an MS-DOS or like DR-DOS or PC-DOS operating system because FreeDOS exists,
Most things worked overall. Like, I noted like Mortal Kombat looked great and played really well in FreeDOS, right? The Mortal Kombat PC port's pretty good. Wolfenstein 3D crashed. Null pointer assignment error. Whatever. The original Ease for DOS, I said crashed the first time I tried to run it, but then after rebooting it worked. So whatever. Rise of the Dragon worked, but I couldn't get any audio. Most of the games I've tried, I'm just calling out the ones that didn't work. I have a whole bunch of other games that did work.
Yeah. But I should mention, I mean, the reason why he was interviewed at length is also because 1.3 version of FreeDOS was released.
Yeah.
They take a long time between each release. But that is the news. No topic this episode. So that leaves us Game Club.
Yeah.
Should I do mine since it's up there?
Yeah, since that is the order it is in.
Yes, I guess that makes sense. So I did one of my all-time childhood favorites, Cloak and Dagger. So this is a twin stick shooter, well, kind of run and gun kind of thing. I guess your Atari version of a top-down shooter. You run around as Agent X, and you have to steal the plans and blow up. You have to steal the plans from Dr. Boom and also blow up his bomb factory. And so it has many, many stories, I think like 32 or 33 stories, something like that. You go through each story. There's robots, there's bombs, there's minefields, stuff like that. There are warps to other levels, so you can speedrun this game. You get all the way to the last floor, and then you have to get all the way back. And so it's not a short game. It is, to me, pretty difficult. It feels a lot like Robotron, but this shares a chipset with Crystal Castles. And so there was a conversion for Defender and Crystal Castles. Now, Wikipedia is saying that there was a conversion for Robotron 2084, which this game plays a lot like, but I personally think this is not true. It
Mhm.
does say a limited arcade release, but if someone knows for real, please let us know. Like specifically if you've seen that conversion kit. I used to own one of these cabinets. It was a Defender conversion, and it played great. I loved it. Yada yada yada. I played it on the Atari 50, and it runs really well. But I played it on the Steam Deck, so you have the twin analog sticks there, and they just didn't feel right. And this is the first time I'm really saying that about almost any controller, on using a MAME type system. Like, it didn't feel laggy at all. It's just that when you have an 8-way stick compared to an analog stick, you have to be really precise in this game on the minefields. And the analog stick, you could kind of get a little bit off. I guess it's harder to aim the right direction. Let's see. This was originally released as Agent X. There's, I guess, maybe a few cabinets out there, or specific, not even cabinets maybe, but the PC boards. So if you have one of those, that you might have a little pile of gold sitting there, but don't think just because it says Agent X on your PC board that's a thing, because almost all of them say that somewhere. So yeah, there was never a home port for this. There was some started and planned but never finished. And obviously there was a movie called Cloak and Dagger, which this game was in. There was an Atari 5200 in it that he was, it looked like he was playing this game on, but that was just a prop, and it was actually just the PC board behind the wall or something. I say this is one of my childhood favorite games, because when I was young, twice my family drove from Detroit to St. Pete Beach, Florida, to a small hotel called the Blue Dolphin Motel. I'm sure it was really cheap, but it was right next to the ocean, and it had a pool, and it had a little arcade. When you walked into it, there was a Burger Time sit-down cabinet, which I used to have one of those as well. And by the pool, there was an arcade that had Tron and Cloak and Dagger. There was one other game in there. I can't remember what it was. And then a bunch of mechanical, weird, pre-Atari type games. And it was during that time that I fell in love with this game. I spent so many of my dad's quarters on this thing. Yeah, I do think this is a really good game. It's just try to find one in an arcade if you want the real experience, especially because the music is really cool and the sound chip is really cool. And, it's just something about the sound blaring out of an arcade cab that made a huge difference with it. Where out of the Steam Deck, it wasn't as cool. Again, the sound was fine on the Steam Deck and on Atari 50. But speaking of chips, there is cutscenes between each level of Agent X in an elevator, and it scrolls up or down. And there's a specific chip that Atari made to do that with. They also used it in Crystal Castles, and these chips are known to die, and you can't go on Mauser.com or DigiKey or something and get these chips. One guy did recreate a few of them on Clav, but I don't think he makes them, and he doesn't really sell them to other people. So, I mean, these are boards that could just die. So it's cool that there is a way to play this, but that was really long-winded. I like it. I think everyone should play it. What do you think about this one?
What's funny is I wrote my notes before you added the note that this ran on Crystal Castles hardware, because my initial impression was, oh, this is just Crystal Castles, but not isometric.
Yeah.
It's really the same game. Not exactly the same. It's just like that was just my first gut feeling, was like, oh yeah, that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I did read a little bit of the history of how it was developed as a separate game, and then the movie came along and they decided to make it into a tie-in. What I also learned from that is that um, Cloak and Dagger and The Last Starfighter were originally released as a double feature.
Wow, I did not know that. Huh.
Yeah, so it's like you spend like 5 hours in the theater watching those two movies that are both a little bit video game adjacent, right?
I like one of those movies.
Okay. I don't. I've seen Cloak and Dagger a couple times as a kid. I think I only saw Last Starfighter once.
I love Last Starfighter.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know that Last Starfighter has a similar thing where there's a game called Last Starfighter that was built before the movie and was just rebranded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can. There's a site out there where you can build the Last Starfighter cabinet, and it has source code that these people made of the game that's in the movie. So you can actually make that game. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. I was not very good at this game. I certainly died a lot. Like, I guess you like each stage has like a timer, right? And if you don't complete a certain amount of time, like it just explodes.
Yeah, because you're in the bomb factory. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that was. I died a lot. I didn't really play this back in the day. If I had this in like 1983, I probably would have liked it.
Yeah, totally.
Trying it now for the first time, it was it was a little difficult for me, and I had to put a few hours in to probably get good at it.
Did you see the movie?
I did, yeah.
What do you think?
I thought this movie was all right. I mean, it's not going to win an Oscar or anything, if that's what you're asking. It's a little far-fetched. I mean, in real life, that kid would have been dead in the first 10 minutes of this adventure. So I guess there's that. It was the kid from E.T., right? Who now does like the Netflix horror shows.
Well, this movie, I mean, I've seen it a lot because I liked Atari as a kid, so I watched it even though I didn't like it, and it was on HBO all the time. And the villains, it's weird. Like, the villains are two geriatrics. And like the old man, I think he had something like weird with his hand or something.
Yeah, I think it was the woman. I thought it was the wife.
Oh, it was the woman? Okay, yeah. And see, I have like repressed memories of this. And
yeah, because she has like a glove to cover the fact that she's missing like 2 fingers or something, and that's the secret, that the bad guy only has 3 fingers or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and
something along those lines.
Yeah, and they both just were eerie. And then the girl, his friend in this, was one of the creepy girls from the Twilight Zone, the movie, which I love, but obviously it's a creepy movie. So the movie just, I don't know, doesn't give me a good feeling at all, but the game does. So there you go.
Yeah.
But it made San Antonio look nice. It's the only one of the few movies I've seen filmed there.
Yeah, I've never been to San Antonio. My wife's been for like a book conference, but I've not ever gone.
Yeah, looks nice.
She just told me it was super hot all the time. That no matter what time of day it was unbearably hot.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Should we move to your game?
Yeah. So I did Tempest 2000, because that's I think it's a game everybody can agree on, I hope. So yeah, this has always been like my favorite Jaguar game. Like, Jaguar has some good games. I know it's an easy system to pick on, but like it has really good Wolfenstein and Doom ports, for example. But anytime in the past like 10 years that I turn on the Jaguar, it's pretty much only Tempest 2000 that I play on it. I think a couple of weeks ago we did Kaboom for a game club pick. And I said Kaboom is like a game you get better at the less you try.
Yeah.
Like you just have to kind of space out and get into the right mental zone, and suddenly you're good at Kaboom. And Tempest 2000 is the exact same kind of thing for me. Like it's got this crazy rave music, all these flashing effects and stuff, and you kind of have to get like hypnotized into the game. And once you kind of get in the right mental zone, like I can get through 10 to 20 levels in the game without dying pretty easily if I am properly tuned out. If you're like really thinking about like the strategy, you're probably going to lose.
That explains me.
Yeah, if you're really like, okay, I got to shoot this guy and to get that power up, you just have to blank out, and just kind of go with it. What I thought was kind of weird, though, is the Jaguar, for having a notoriously bad controller, this game actually controls pretty well in the Jaguar. And the controls on the Switch kind of don't feel as good. I know it's not a very precise review there. I'll just say it didn't, like, the controls didn't, like, flow kind of the same way they do in the Jaguar. Like, in the Jaguar, it feels like they're trying to make a spinner type of experience with the controller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the controls are very loose, like your I don't know what the ship is called in Tempest. But that ship kind of flies around, and on the Switch, it was the controls actually felt more precise, which is wrong. Not that I couldn't get used to it, but it was just a little bit different. And then the soundtrack, of course, is overall, there's one or two songs that are kind of but overall, it's a really great soundtrack.
And there's been Tempest since this too. There's like 3,000 to 4,000, right?
There are, yeah. I mean, like, this was at the time. This was also ported to the Sega Saturn, and I think the new one might have been Tempest 3000 technically, but it's the same game.
Yeah, I never really played this back in the day, and I was horrible at this.
Okay.
Playing it for this episode. I mean, I died like right away. I was like, wow, why am I so bad at this?
Yeah. Well, they have a spinner control for the Jaguar for this game.
Cool. Yeah.
And there's a whole community of people that are addicted to this game, and have built like custom spinner controls and stuff.
Did you use the D-pad or the analog stick?
I use the D-pad because that's closer to how the Jaguar works.
Okay.
Which is what I played it on the most, of course.
Yeah, I should try that. I think I used the analog stick on the Switch or on the Steam Deck, but I need to. I don't think the D-pad was enabled. I'll have to check.
Okay.
But any closing thoughts on this one?
No. I mean, it's. I think it's a great game. I think everyone should try it at least once.
What are you gonna play next?
I decided I'm gonna play regular Pilotwings. We did Pilotwings 64 a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really never spent more than 5 minutes playing original Pilotwings.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I go back and try that.
Cool, nice. Well, I'm gonna do Neutopia on the TurboGrafx 16 because we won't be formally recording for a little bit, even though we'll have episodes releasing. So it'll give me time to, hopefully, time to get through this game.
Yeah, I finished this game like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can remember any of it.
Yeah, well, if anyone plays Pilotwings, Neutopia, Tempest 2000, Cloak and Dagger, if you ever been to the Blue Dolphin Motel, if you play stuff on FreeDOS or have thoughts on Java or Mega Man 5 or try the translation of Private Eye Dol, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. And we have our link tree in there that Zach takes care of all of our socials on, including Discord and all that. But we do have some feedback items here. I could take this first one. Jimmy writes in about the Atari 50 compilation, and he thought that there might be some DLC coming, which might be cool. Maybe we'll get some more games for it. And also we asked what other compilations should get the Digital Eclipse treatment, and he said Bally Midway, which is a great idea. I mean, they'd have some heavy hitters there.
Yeah, they've released many Bally Midway collections, but not anything comprehensive. It's usually here's 12 games, which again is a good bargain.
Oh,
but
yeah,
they typically don't do here's almost everything in our history.
Yeah, plus videos and stuff like that. And
yeah.
And then Jody writes in asking about Primal Rage: The Avatars. Have you ever heard of this?
I've never heard of this.
So I guess it was a couple episodes based on the second game that was never formally released, which is better than the original game. And
yes.
And then Jody also thinks that it's funny that the ending of Primal Rage, so Sauron the Yellow T-Rex, ends with him just eating everyone, Talon the Raptor, who enslaves humanity for his raptor tribe to hunt for sport, and what's it, Chaos the Yellow Ape, who's only fighting so he could reverse his experiment to become human again. So yeah, I didn't know any of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know in the sequel there are transformations into human. I don't really know the storyline of it though.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah.
Let's see here. Majors writes in. Many of our listeners should know that the CS was E3 before E3. 90s video game magazines always had an article that was being shown off there. They usually had a winter and summer event, and usually the winter show was not in Chicago. Yes, well, that would make sense. Games and movies that took place in the future but have passed their fictional dates. He laughs every time he sees Escape from New York and says it takes place in 1997.
Nice. Yeah, of course.
The Donkey Kong canon authored by QAnon. Did I make that claim that the Donkey Kong canon was?
I think when we were talking about Donkey Kong, when we were talking about Bubble Bobble canon, I think you brought up Donkey Kong as well.
Yeah, and it is bizarre. It is definitely strange. But yeah, he brings up a point about how a lot of like so he's speculating that the canon might be fan fiction, like 50 Shades of Grey.
Nice.
Yeah, something that's yeah, I don't know. The Donkey Kong canon is largely speculation that fans have pieced together. All the time I find out that like some really silly thing, like, so a few years ago, I posted this Donkey Kong activity book that Burger King gave away sometime in the beginning of the century. It's like 4 pages, and I scanned it. And all the time I find out people link to it because that activity book notes that Donkey Kong was born in England.
Okay.
Which and then on the page, I'm just incredulous. I'm like, I'm not a detailed expert on Donkey Kong history, but it feels like someone other than Burger King should have told me this sooner. And I've been trying to figure out where, like, anywhere in any Donkey Kong game, it references Donkey Kong being born in England.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, I don't know why Burger King knows this and nobody else does. All right, what collection should get digital Eclipse treatment? Technosoft. So there you go. You would get like the Thunder Force games, and I assume Herzog's Y would be in there too. And Tempest 2000. He feels Tempest is the 2000 is the only reason the Jaguar needs to exist. And that there was an early Jaguar emulator simply called Project Tempest because the developer developed the EMU specifically to play that.
Nice.
And he wants to compliment you on pronouncing Beazle correctly.
I think you mispronounced it.
No, it's Beazle. Isn't that right?
You made me forget English. I don't know. I don't even know anymore.
Well, whatever you said last episode is apparently the correct pronunciation. I don't know.
It's so funny. I have no idea. But we do have some social feedback as well. Zach asked some people what they would like to see get the digital Eclipse treatment. And let's see, what do we have here? Sean would like to see it on the actually just ported to the Mac. That's all.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Someone wants more of the Atari ST and XL games. Yeah, I mean, the more of the PC games would be something someone would like to see. Maybe perhaps things not made by Atari even.
Synapse, which should be a good one. The other Atari one, not Atari home ports, but the Atari games. So that's the arcade division. And then Sega, Nintendo, Konami, all the other ones we said.
Surtech, someone brought up. So it's like all the wizardry stuff. That'd be a big hit in Japan. The wizardry games, as I understand, were very, very popular in Japan.
Sunsoft, that's a great idea. I love that idea.
Yeah. They mentioned Interplay and Sierra. That one too.
Yeah. great. Yeah, just fantastic ideas.
Yeah. I mean, there have been some, like, I know I have a bunch of boxes that are like Infocom collections because they did the same thing that like Midway does, where in the 90s, after Activision bought the rights to Infocom, they'd release like, here's all the Infocom fantasy games, and here's all the Infocom sci-fi games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not like one big, here's all the Infocom text adventures ever.
And the devs talking about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marvel versus Capcom, Resident Evil, Taken, Midway. Yeah, you can't go wrong with those. Sega, LucasArts,
Well,
that's a great idea.
I believe this one is sarcastic. It would be nice if Sega would release a collection of Genesis games. And Sega does have one, at least one of the collections has interviews with developers and all that stuff.
Yeah. Wait, which one has interviews with developers?
The one in a green box, it was on PlayStation 2 and I think maybe PSP.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
It has like a lot of it was on PS3 also. Or not PS3. Oh, what's the other thing? What was the competitor to PlayStation 2?
Xbox?
Yeah, I think it's on that too.
Okay.
You hear that rattling. Is it this one? Oh, I have to look now. I have this. I mean, I literally have it, and it's got like, videos with interviews with all kinds of Sega developers on there.
Oh, cool.
It's very similar to Atari. Now, what it doesn't do, like Atari 50 goes through like many different systems. So like the Sega one doesn't have Master System games and doesn't have Game Gear and doesn't have, pre-Genesis stuff.
Yeah.
But it has a very thorough library of like Sega's Genesis games.
I'm definitely going to look for that, at least on YouTube, just to see those videos.
Yeah.
And then I don't get the next one. I think it's because it's out of context, but someone else wrote, is it just Amiga 2? Is it just Amico 2 or is it Amico -2? Like they keep screwing up, so they've lost twice.
Yeah, it could be that too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I get it. I get it right now. See, Atari 50 is because it's Atari's 50th anniversary, whereas the Amico is 2 years past its release date.
That is funny. That's funnier than I thought it was. Yeah.
So Amico -2 was actually pretty good, huh?
That would be a good T-shirt.
Pretty good one. Yeah. I mean, we had an offline discussion about the Amico this week too, and I think that is close to entering the banned topic list on the show.
Agree. Unless I get one in my hands, we will not talk about it.
Yeah. When if they declare bankruptcy and someone buys the IP, like I think that's worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's me. And if the thing actually launches, I think those are the only conditions that we talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Well, again, that's email at retrogameclub.net. And yeah, we'll release those next 2 episodes, our little mini series over the next few weeks. And we'll see you the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.